A lament of the dead. For a ounce of cocaine or some marijuana, you killed your friend Claude. For leaving his terrain and crossing to Mova, you spilled Richard's blood. An ex-drug dealer you attacked because he sell you some bad crack. So you hide in the dark and commit a brutal act. That's a fact. On your URP job you want double pay for doing nothing. The poor man say no, so you blow up the head to win. Raging, but murder are you committing? Besides murder, a greater sin. For the things you preventing that dead man from seeing. Yes. For just because of your stupidity, that dead man didn't see Latapi weaving his magic amongst them Yankee when we gave them tree. And just because of your damn foolishness, those you kill will forever miss Thompson winning silver in the Olympics. And just because of your damn ignorance, that man didn't see Usain Bolt dance when he broke the world record with arrogance. But your greatest sin, Mr. Killer, is that you prevented our black brother from seeing this century's greatest history drama. Because of you, men see the tears of Oprah. You stop men from seeing Barack Obama. Just because your girlfriend talked to another man, you blew out his brains. And because Mr. Ken disagree with your plans, you slew him like Cain. And next man you attacked because you didn't like his act. So you hide in the trap and commit that brutal act. That's a fact. One of your boys was killed while walking on George Street, just so one night. So you walk in the area and blow up two of them, boom, boom, first fight. It's a pity you cannot see that beyond your murderous spree, the folks you kill will never see momentous history. Yes. But just because of your damn stupidness, those you killed didn't get to witness all those men who ran in the New York's business. And just because of your foolish action, the dead didn't see Jesse Jackson weep and cry for the rise of the African. And because of that gun you were carrying, dead men didn't see Black Stalin get his doctorate from UE for doing his thing. You make men see Michelle Obama through the front of the White House enter, not as a maid, but as First Lady, brother. Because of you, better see history register. You stop men from seeing Barack Obama. Uh-huh. Oh. Oh. Uh-huh. Just a few years ago, Africans were murdered like dogs in the States. Many were killed just so, for some lie, Lord forbid, that whites fabricate. Trying to vote made whites upset. So many blacks were burned to death. And whilst they were burning, the Ku Klux Klan danced and fed. Oh yes, was the whip and them dogs when Africans demanded their human rights. Was the jail and curtail for trying to speak to whites polite. So look here, Mr. Murderer, men have died to see what you saw. In their time, blacks couldn't pass through the White House back door. For just because of your damn idleness, those you killed didn't get to witness. Africans in the U.S. voting, where once they were killed for this. And because of that gun, my brother, those you killed will never see Ganga, and his voice win a million in Antigua. And because of your criminal doing, that men get to see Hillary Clinton serving as Secretary of State to a black skin. You make men see Michelle Obama dressed so beautiful last winter at State Hall where her grandma couldn't enter. Because of your gun, men see the tears of Oprah. You stop men from seeing Barack Obama alive.
Oh, Dr. Hollis Liverpool there. Somebody say Kaiso, Kaiso. That is real Kaiso, real Calypso, real Kaiso. We're in that season. Good evening. Welcome to Politics 101. Welcome to Politics 101. It's a Thursday evening. Somebody say Kaiso, Kaiso, real Kaiso, real Kaiso. The mighty chalk dust. The mighty chalk dust. They're singing the lament of the dead. Now, good evening again, and welcome to Politics 101. I'm here with you. We're expecting Apostle London to join us, and tonight we are going to be talking about that shocking decision by the Guyana Teachers Union, or sections of the Guyana Teachers Union leadership, to sign that agreement on behalf of the teacher. Pastor London, Apostle London, is going to be here tonight, later on tonight. Kamala Harris is gonna be making her acceptance speech, and it's going to be quite a thing, quite a thing. I said, I am not, I am cynical. I've been for a long time of American politics. Um, very cynical about American politics. Part of it has to do with the fact, it was sealed for me when America elected Mr. Trump as their president. Now it's people's right, a country's right to elect whoever they want to elect as their president. I don't tell people. But when America elected Donald Trump, I said that was it for me. There's something radically wrong about that. But it's real. However, there are moments in American politics that people like me and people like you have to key into. And we are in the presence of one such moment. I remember distinctly, as many of you would, when Barack Obama was elected in 2008. I was saying to my class today that if you remember, when Obama started to run, Black people didn't pay much attention to him. By the end of the day, by the end of the season, when he became president, he set the entire world, especially the Black world, on a new trajectory. Many of us cried, wept openly. Chuck Duss in that calypso talked about those Black men who died as a result of gun violence, because it's a calypso condemning Black on Black violence. It's really the quintessential Kaiso, because it used the occasion of Obama's presidency to talk about certain things. So he talks about Black on Black violence and says that, all those men who got killed by gun violence didn't get to see momentous history, didn't get to see Obama become president. And he talks about that. He also talks about the difficulty Black people went through in America. Denied the right to vote, the struggle for the right to vote. He talks about Michelle Obama, the role of Black women. Michelle Obama is mentioned in that calypso 3 times. 3 times. Black women. She going through the White House front door and not the back door, because even her grandmother couldn't go through the back door, but she goes through the front door as First Lady. He talks about Michelle dressed so nice. Black is beautiful. That's what he's talking about. He talks about Hillary Clinton serving as Secretary of State to a Black skin. It's your quintessential calypso. It doesn't say much about Obama, but Obama is the chorus, but he doesn't speak about Obama. He uses calypso to speak about so many things. That is why it's the quintessential calypso. He talks about the tears of Oprah. Those of us remember Oprah crying. The tears of Jesse Jackson crying. And, we Black people, when we cry, it's not always a cry of sorrow. There are cries of joy. The joy that cometh in the morning. There's our mornings. And when Obama, are we on the verge of another moment? This time, Black people are not making sport. You saw Oprah last night. Oh, what oration, what oration. And people in Guyana want to tell us about Black people and instant gratification and all kinds of nonsense. Listen to Oprah. What oration. We saw Michelle Obama. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Dr. King is said to be one of the great orators. We in Guyana know about oration from Black men and women. Fobbs Burnham and Walter Rodney and we know about oration. Listen to Michelle Obama. Listen to Barack. This time, they're not crying after. They're crying before in anticipation. You don't have to like Kamala Harris's politics. It's difficult sometimes to like American politics because sometimes you have to take some positions, some unpopular positions in order to win an election in America. So, you know, some of us criticize Obama. Obama didn't do this, Obama didn't do that, and all of those things are correct. But Obama's election is not about what he did and didn't do. It was about the symbolism and what happened to us as Black people. The symbolism of Obama. You know, you can quibble about whether you like what he said or you don't like what he said and like what he did and the actions he took and so on. That's American politics. But the symbolism, Barack Obama is not just that he was elected president, but what it meant for Black people all over the world. And I'm saying again, you don't have to like Kamala. There are lots about our politics that may not jive with you, gel with you. But we are maybe on the eve of another symbolic moment. Because you see, if Kamala is elected, it's going to be the second African American, the second Black person. It will be the first woman. So it's an African American, it's African America, African Americans who are going to give America its first woman president. A white woman tried and didn't deliver it. If Kamala wins, this is a significance, is that African Americans will be giving America its first woman president. As I said, I am cynical about American politics. The things that you have to do to get elected. And the fact that that country could elect a Donald Trump, you know, you have to be cynical about American politics. But that cynicism has to be put in context. You know, sometimes we Black people have been saying it here, and I got this from Sister Glennis. No, not Sister Glennis. One of the sisters I saw recently, I think it's a lawyer. Yes, I think it's a lawyer. And she said to me, she said, David, she had called me to give a donation to her emancipation event or office. And we had a chat, and I recognized her from another matter that I was part of. And we chatted, and she said to me, she said, Dr. Hines, we Black people sometimes set the bar so high for our leaders that it's difficult for them to climb over. And I've been thinking about that since she said it, and I've been using it because it's true. And it's a good thing that we can set the bar high for our leaders. But we have to be very careful that when we set the bar so high, we have to be very careful that we ask them to do the impossible. So we have to do two things. We have to balance setting a high bar with making it not so high that our leaders cannot jump over. So if Kamala Harris becomes the president of America, she will be giving America its first woman president. You know, I was saying to my class today, we were talking about identity. I said, you know, if Kamala belonged to my country, we wouldn't be calling her black, we would be calling her Douglas. We'd be saying she's a Douglas girl. In America, she's black, African America. And I had some Indian students, and I asked the Indians from India, I said, if Kamala, in your country, what do you refer to? And they were two of them, and they looked at each other. And they said, you know, black. She's part Indian. But in India, she would be black. In Guyana, she would be a Douglas. In Jamaica, she would be a brown woman. So she has multiple identities. But the greatest gift she would be given, we would be giving America if we elect her, is that we would be doing for America. We gave America's first black president. And if she wins, we'll be giving America's first woman president. Think about it. You all go out and vote if you all are American citizens. You don't have to agree with everything. You don't have to agree with everything. You don't have to agree with the Democratic Party with everything. You are in the presence of history, as Chalky said in that calypso. Those who died, those who were killed by gun violence didn't get to see this century's most important moment. Chalky will have to write another calypso if Kamala wins, because it will be the second momentous occasion. That has meaning for us in Guyana. You see, people get off. I don't like Aubrey Norton. I don't like Nigel Hughes. I don't like David Hines. And it's okay. You have a right not to like the policies or maybe the person who's running to be our leader. But you have to look beyond what you don't necessarily like and look at the larger picture. Obama didn't do much for black people as black people. He couldn't. The irony in America is that a white person is more likely to do more for black people than a black president. But his mere presence as president did a lot for black people. And so again, one of the lessons we have to learn in Guyana is that we have to look at the larger picture. We have to look at the larger picture. You may not like where Aubrey Norton drinks. You may not like the fact that Nigel Hughes don't drink a certain place. So some of you don't like Aubrey because he just got Bamba Mali. Some of you don't like Nigel because Nigel don't go to Bamba Mali. Well, don't worry with me. I don't hang out in Georgetown. I just in the countryside, so you all don't catch me too steady, right? You know. But you all may not like me because I talk a certain way. I get dread. I say I love black people, and some of you all may not like that. But we have to look at the larger picture. What it would mean for one of us to be president of Guyana. What it would mean. What it would mean psychologically the next day. Nothing perhaps may change if Norton or Nigel Hughes or, David Hinds become president. Nothing may change the next day materially. But something, a lot will change psychologically for a lot of African Guyanese and for people of other ethnicities who do not like what this government is doing. It's the larger picture. And I want you all to listen to me very carefully. I still read on this board and other boards and what he bring and what this body bring. We all bring something. I've been talking a lot about economics recently, about poverty, because I see it. I've been giving examples because I experience it. I hang out. I don't live in Georgetown, so I don't get to Bamba Mali. But if there was a Bamba Mali in Boston, I sure will be there. And they got plenty Bamba Mali in Boston. I just hang out there. And the other villages, mainly on the East Coast. And I meet people there. As I said, you offer them a drink. Let me buy you 2 beers. No, David. I'm repeating that story. No, David. Give me the money so I can go and buy things to cook tomorrow. Those women, black women, I'm sure it's the same thing for Amerindian women, poor Amerindian women and poor East Indian women. I'm sure it's the same. They have their priorities right. When given a choice between beer, liquor, and food, they choose food. Yet, when we propose that we must put some of the oil money in their hand, some big people, educated people, say they're going to spend them out. But those people don't hang out with those poor people, so they don't know how they think. I hang out with them, so I know how they think. And I know, give them a choice. When you put money in their hand, give them a choice between liquor and food, they will choose food. That is why we in the WP are saying, put money in poor people's hand. I didn't ask you whether, as though I don't ask those women whether they're going to buy plantain, saltfish, ice cream, whatever. Their priorities right. I saw one of them the next day, one time. So I said, you buy ice cream for them children? She said, Dr. Hinds, I buy what they need. I said, you buy ice cream? She said, Dr. Hinds, I buy what they need. But I get the drift. I said, you buy ice cream? She said, Dr. Hinds, I buy what they need. Ice cream is low down on the priority. Get other things they need. And as soon as you put the money in my hand, I go and I buy what they need. I am saying, my brothers and sisters, if you don't be around poor people, you don't understand how poor people think, and you get these high theories. High theories that you all think you all know. These political leaders think they know what is good for people. If you hang out with people and you are there with them, you know what's good for them only because they tell you what is good for them. You hear what a lady tell me? I asked if she buy ice cream. She said, I buy what they need. Sisters and brothers, they say we don't vote on issues, we vote on race, and that is partly true. Most Indians vote for PPP, most Black people vote for PNC, and some other parties at some time. So we do vote on race. Amerindians generally split up their vote a little bit for PPP, a little bit for PNC. In the old days, they used to vote for UF. They were like Black people and Indian people. In recent times, they split up their vote. But Africans, although we vote race, we have a chance to also vote policy. And this is the beauty of a coalition going into an election, is that you get to vote race, meaning you are voting for the Indian PPP. So that's your race vote. But then you look at the AFC, you look at the PNC, you look at the WPA, and you say, which one of them I am using to cast my vote? Which one of them I'm using as a vessel to cast my vote for the coalition? If you like our economics to get poor people out of poverty, I'm going to put my vote for the coalition, and I'm going to use WPA as the vessel for my vote for the coalition. So you get to vote race because you're voting against the Indian PPP. You're voting for them. You're voting for the alternative, which is African. But then within the African thing, you now say, which of the African parties or the parties on the African side best represent my view? You know, we're voting on policy. So you get to vote on race and on policy. So let nobody tell you all the Black people don't vote on policy. You see, the other side don't got competition. On the Black side, you get competition. You get some tough guys. On the African side, I mean, you got guys like our guest tonight, Apostle London, who fires all the week, right? But he's part of the family. One of the things Oprah said last night, I am an independent, and I'm asking independents to vote for Kamala. There's diversity on our side. Diversity on our side. And so we get to vote race and get to vote on policy. And one of the things that the PPP does to our Indian Guyanese brothers and sisters is that it locks them off and doesn't give them the choice. It's PPP or nothing. That is why some of them are quietly eyeing parties on our side. When Sister Mans attempt to say that, that's how she racist and so on. On our side, you have diversity. And so the point I am making here tonight is get beyond what you don't necessarily like about our leaders and get with the big picture. Do you want Black people, opposition people, poor people to endure 5 more years of the PPP misery? I am not saying don't be critical of our leaders. Be critical. I want you all to be critical of me. I want you all to be critical of Aubrey. I want you all to be critical of Nigel. Don't give us a free pass. Don't give us a free pass. But do not be so critical that you set the bar high that we can't jump over. And when we can't jump over, you say, well, you don't want to sleep, you don't go in and vote. Because all of them, they're on stupidness. You all have got to push us. That's what they're doing with Kamala. Kamala is not as exciting a candidate as Obama. She's not as exciting a candidate as Obama, but you know, she got some exciting people helping to push her over that bar. So we go beyond the individual and we look at the moment, the symbolism of the moment. That's what we're facing in Guyana. That's what we're facing in Guyana. If we can do as Black Americans are doing, Black Americans, they give America its first Black president. They're likely to give America its second Black president, or more importantly, its first woman president. The first white woman that ran for high office, vice presidency, Geraldine Ferraro. She ran as running mate to Walter Mondale in 1984. Walter Mondale lost all the states with a woman on the ticket, and with women as the majority of the voters. He lost all the states except Minnesota and Washington, D.C. He was from Minnesota. When Hillary Clinton tried, she won the majority of votes, but she lost the electoral college. She lost the presidency. White women vote against her. White women vote against her to deny her the presidency. I am betting my bottom dollar Black women ain't gonna vote against Kamala. I bet my bottom dollar. It's culture, it's worldview. And we in Guyana have to learn that. Learn to be critical of our leaders. And we're going to be critical of some of them tonight. Because we're going to be talking about that scandalous agreement that a section of the GTU executive, led by the president, signed on behalf of the teachers. I think Apostle London is ready for us. He was having some difficulty. So let's bring in Apostle. Good evening, my brother.
Greetings to you and to those who are viewing as well. I certainly appreciate your patience. I was having extreme difficulties being here, but Yahweh knows why, and we're here at the right time. So thank you for having me.
I take it that as a political animal, you've been following what's happening in American politics and the Democrats having their thing, and we're on the eve of maybe another momentous moment, if there's such a thing, in American politics. And you may not have heard me, I was making the point that one doesn't have to agree with a lot of the views of Kamala Harris, because in American politics, the things you have to agree with and say in order to get elected, you know, but to understand what she represents. And as I've said, if she is able to rise above that mess and get into the White House, the most important contribution she would be giving to America and the world is that African Americans would be giving America its first woman president. White America couldn't do it. So in the space of 2 decades, African Americans would be giving America its first Black president, its first Black vice president, and its first woman president. And that momentous. Talk to me, my brother.
It is momentous, and it's certainly a very strange period for the USA in the manner in which Kamala was selected. Remember, Joe Biden just without having a convention held, without having any elections held, said, "Hey, she's the person." It took the Obamas some time to come on board because it's a very strange way for the Democrats to function. But I think that many looked around and realized that the only person, in their view, who could step up to the plate and have a significant impact on the culture that surrounds the Democratic Party at this time would be Kamala Harris. As you rightly said, there are many things about her that I would never agree with, because I'm not given to the fact that I have to destroy my conscience to gain anybody's vote. I would never do that. It has to do with my religious perspective as well, and just how I view life in general. But what I do know is that should the Democrats win through Kamala Harris, the likes of Barra Jagdeo would be in severe danger, extreme trouble, because she's not an enemy of Hakeem Jeffries, and Barra Jagdeo is. So for one who's so close to Hakeem to become the president, and Hakeem has his eyes on Guyana for the longest while, the PPP would not be very comfortable with that scenario. They'd be happy if Trump would be there. And there's so many significant and as you rightly said, momentous opportunities that lie ahead for this lady. It's just unimaginable. I do not agree with many of Kamala's policies and how she functions, like with the border, for example.
Yes.
But what I do know is that as an African, or one who has African, some African genes, some Negroid genes in her, it would be significant to know that she could outshine Hillary Clinton, because the US is really very, very unsympathetic to females leading them.
Yes.
So for Kamala to be able to cross that hurdle and to be a leader, not even as a white woman, would be a shock, would be significant in terms of the global sphere. And I would like to say, as Guyanese, I would love to see how the PPP responds to that, because it would not be a comforting moment for them at all.
And no, I want to we get into the teachers thing, my brother, but I want us to reflect a little bit, because we don't often have these conversations in Guyana and in America and other places, because we feel that if we have a certain kind of conversation about Indian people, then it's turning off black people and it's against black people. Or if we have a conversation about Amerindians, we're a little bit lenient when it comes to Amerindians. We cut some slack there. But if we have a conversation about Indian contribution, it's usually seen as against African contribution. And even more salient is when we have conversation about African contributions. Automatically, without thinking, it's against Indian, it's against everybody. And we have to say, if you study history, the history of the last 400 years, we ought not to be surprised that there are things that black people could achieve in domestic and global politics that others could not. Because black people are bringing a certain experience, a certain worldview. You know, I mean, listen to Michelle Obama speak. Listen to Oprah. Those two black women. There were other black women who did their thing. So I don't mean to leave them out. But those speeches could only be given by black women. That's my. I am not saying something is wrong with Indian women or white women or Chinese women. I am just saying, given our experiences, when you listen to the oratory of Michelle Obama the night before and Oprah Winfrey last night, which everybody is talking about, those speeches could only be given by black women.
It's very important, and it's actually critical to the African descendants to understand, as you rightly said, history. There is, in terms of the education of the African descendants, a missing link. There's a disconnection, and it happened because of many of our leaders too. They failed to, as you would do, honestly seek to drive home to the African descendants that you were not, your history doesn't begin with slavery. You were bigger than that. You more than that. You could have come through the loins of a king, of great leaders, of great businesses, owners, and so on. So don't ever reduce yourself to saying that because of what we've suffered, we are incapable of shining. And what I've realized across the world is that the African descendants and the Hebrew they are rising at a rate at which the world didn't expect them to. And they're rising with a degree of confidence that is unnerving to many. So when the likes of you or me consider and say, listen, we are highly skilled, highly intelligent people. We are extraordinary. There are more of us who now saying, actually, that may be true.
Yeah.
See? And that is bothering a few of them. That's why I said that for Kamala Harris to win ahead of Hillary Clinton, it would be a significant blow to many in the USA. This is nothing easy to deal with. But the trouble, that, as you just spoke to, the trouble that Hillary and others will have is that Kamala doesn't stand alone. When you have the likes of Michelle Obama, Oprah Winfrey, and many other African women, they're being the two quite significant here. When they stand to speak about Kamala and to represent the cause of the African woman, it's a different culture being presented now. It's not a case of we're saying to you, we hope you feel important, we hope that we can respect us. No, these are women who know they're respected. And they know that they have a bargaining chip in their hand that is no longer about the little black girl somewhere, the little African girl in the corner. It's about a powerful female who stands, like with Michelle, in Michelle's case, beside a man of great historic power. Now, this would make people uncomfortable because they're not accustomed to seeing that in reference to African faces. But they'll have to get used to it. They have to get used to the likes of Hakeem Jeffries. How could you climb so highly in the Democratic circles to become such a powerful congressman? That is making people uncomfortable. And so the ease that I feel with speaking to Africanness and stuff like that, many would still be uncomfortable because they're yet to get to where we are. My hope is that they're able to get there to realize that Michelle Obama, Oprah Winfrey are not only two. They're two of many who will arise and say that we are not. And we have one right here. I think the CEO for Prodigy, I can't remember her name.
Olive Sampson.
Correct. When you hear these ladies speak, it's not just an ordinary little girl talking to you. And I'm reminded, because in the Guyana sphere, how she humbled little Ramson and say, catch yourself, little boy. You don't bark up the wrong tree here. I love that. When they can humble them and bring them to the sense, no, you have to know who you're talking to. And you have to understand, Bharat, who you're dealing with. See? And that's the kind of power that's coming to the African descendants. Does what I said make me racist? To many it may, but to me it makes me one who understands who I am. And I've longed for the day when we can understand who we are as a people. Because there we get a clear understanding of who we are, we'll accept very little from many people who think they can disrespect us. Very little. And before we progress, I must say a conversation I had with my daughter today, one of them. I said to her that, and she's a brilliant girl. I said, if there's one thing you must learn, is you must never allow people to disrespect you. I don't care what rank they're in. You as a female must be able to stand and make people know who you are and what you represent. Never accept anything less than what you know you are from people. And I'm happy that the likes of Oprah and Michelle Obama, Kamala Harris to some extent, understand who they are. And that's what this is about. Because when you understand who you are, you speak with a level of grace and power that make people uncomfortable. I have a sister in the USA, and I'm so happy to talk about these things. Yeah, when she speaks, white men and other men become uncomfortable because they can't understand how could a female be so confident. But she wasn't raised by chickens. She was raised to understand who she is. And she was raised to understand that you are just walking in the grace of greatness. And so this is a very, very serious election. And for Trump to be beaten by a black woman would not be good for him to swallow.
It will not be good for him to swallow, and it will send vibrations throughout the world, just as Obama did when he got elected. And as we're on the point of black women, and we have to, sometimes I said, David, you shouldn't be saying it because you shouldn't have to say it. We are not saying something is wrong with Indian women or Amerindian women. We are just saying where black women came from, the experience on that plantation of watching their men being beaten,
correct,
emasculated, of they themselves being violated.
Yeah.
And coming out of that and standing tall today in 2024, wherever they are, and saying, I am here and I represent something. It's something unique. It's not better. It's not superior. It's unique. You see, when I look at Coretta McDonald, it's only because they can't say a woman that's got to Bamba Mali. They would cuss she and say she would go to Bamba Mali. It's only because it's not nice to cuss a woman and say where she does go. But they would have cussed she and said she got to Bamba Mali. And some of our own people don't like she. They say she too loud, she too this, she too that, and so on. But that woman, throughout this whole teachers thing, she has been consistent.
Correct.
She has been consistent. And after that agreement that was signed yesterday, she stands tall. She stands tall beyond our personage.
Yeah.
She stands tall because she stuck to representation of our people. Pastor, apostle, how could Mark Light and others watch around teachers? What's wrong? Look at the teachers. Look at what the teachers have to go through. Many women, many black women.
Many women, correct.
And if nothing else, you're a black man. You got a PhD. And you don't feel that you have to sit at that table and represent black women. Because when you're representing teachers, that's what you represent. And you are saying, we couldn't get more. That's your damn excuse. This was not just about wages for teachers. It was about representing black women who are defenseless. My brother, talk to me. Have the president and the vice president and maybe others in the union sold out working people, teachers, and black women?
Dr. Hines, to say that to ask whether they've sold them out is putting it mildly. I would say they've slaughtered our women.
There you go.
They have killed the spirit of many a woman. And it's unfortunate. And I know the Margaret may be feeling this at some point, but it's unfortunate for a female, yet again, to have to lead Margaret in the avenue or the alley of courage. To say to him, this is how it's done. And I speak to Coretta McDonald, and to some extent, Vanessa Kissino is there and others, who said, no, this is how you do this. This is how you stand up to oppressors and say, we are not going to kowtow to you. We're not going to accept what you're saying. We're going to speak to that which is representation. Now, those who may be uncomfortable to say that, why are you saying black women or African women? It is a fact that the majority of teachers in this country are of African descent. That's just a fact. You could check it. Additionally, more than 95% are females. So who did Mark Light and others slaughter by their actions? The majority of the people. And for Light to demonstrate this behavior, it has to speak to what my conviction is, which is that he is to some extent, or maybe great extent, controlled by some external force. No normal person who understands trade unionism will do that. Impossible. You would never do it. It is unheard of. And for this to be the last standing, robust, passionate group in terms of a union, to say that we are going to challenge oppression, more so by extension of the African descendants, of the working class, of the public servant. We're going to challenge this, and we're going to fight against you. And then suddenly, the president of all, more than anyone else, says, we can't get more. Says who? Does Mark Light understand the economics that surround Guyana? Does Mark Wright consider the fact, or did he tell the teachers that this 10% you're accepting is just like before, a taxed 10%? He didn't even have the decency to say, well, it must not be taxed. Did he say that when you tax this 10%, what you'll be left with? Did he consider the fact that what he said, because I've heard that he would have said that, him say that he was elected to make decisions in the best interest of the union. Now that's unfortunate coming from one who's the president of a union. You're never elected to make decisions for anybody. You are elected to execute the will of the members of the union, not to make decisions for them. So if they say to you, go and represent us in reference to this environment, there's certain expectations. Coretta has stood, I mean, beyond heads and shoulders above this man.
Yes.
She has shown him how to be a man with chutzpah. I wish I could have said the word in another way. She showed him what it is to not have what he has and still be a man. This man is a disgrace. And for me, when I heard what was reported out of that environment, it is, in my view, it should be considered illegal. It should be illegal to do this. Honestly, this is not to be taken lightly, and I would, maybe we get into discussion, but I would jump in if we don't get there.
Let's go right there.
I hope that teachers can strike against the union, especially Mark Wright. Not government anymore. I hope that females on Monday, whenever school reopens, would come out of the classroom and say, we are not accepting this because it's unfair. How could it be okay for this country to be earning $1+ billion per day, spending money like rain, as they would say, and then to say to the teachers, all you could get if you earn $180,000 per month is $18,000, just about. And we'll tax it. And we're not going to consider the ridiculous rate at which food, as they would say, inflation is occurring. We won't consider that. We'll tax that. And Coretta stands to say, we are unprepared to accept this. And I warned these people before Dr. Hinds'Sight. So from the very first time he did it, I warned teachers. I warned Guyanese. I said that Mark Wright is the dangerous person when it comes to trade unionism. Because what he did the first time, and without consultation, he told teachers come out of the street. I said, this is unheard of. You don't have people in the heat of battle, ready to go for the long haul, and then say to them, yeah, we agree to get off the street. Something is wrong. When Saddam Hussein was cornered, when the first day, when they said to Saddam, okay, we're here to have negotiation, this is what he wants, Saddam said to them, I have to consult with those who have authority over me. So am I to think that the union doesn't have authority over Mark Wright? He's a boss, a rule unto himself. Dr. Hinds, there is so much bubbling in me, but I know you want to have a discussion here, but there's a lot to unpack regarding the situation. This is unheard of. It is unfortunate, and it reflects on another union leader. Or it gives me it reminds me of another person who bowed to the same political party and who seems to be controlled by the same political party. And therefore, I would expect that teachers across this country would strike against the union in terms of the executive, not about the government anymore, because the government, in terms of the administration, didn't fail you. Mark Wright and the second VP country report, they failed you. The General Counsel, who would have been according to what they now said, they were deceived. They didn't have a chance to know exactly what they're talking about. There's supposed to be a particular time frame given for emergency meetings. Mark bypassed all of that. And there has to be a reaction in this country that gives him a strong message that he would not be there as president much longer, and more so, we're not accepting any 10%. No way.
No way. Look, Apostle, I want to say a few things. Last year, Vanessa Kissoon ran against Mark Wright, and teachers voted for Mark Wright over Vanessa Kissoon. Elections have consequences.
Correct.
Elections have consequences. I think I know Vanessa Kissoon fairly well. Apostle, you probably know her better than I do because you're all from Linden there and you've interacted. I'm not saying that Vanessa Kissoon is flawless or faultless or perfect, but I do not think in my wildest dreams that Vanessa Kissoon would have accepted that deal as Mark Light did.
No.
Brothers and sisters, elections have consequences. Elections have consequences. Whatever went into your reasoning for voting for Mark over Vanessa, maybe because Vanessa too working class, or because Mark Light got a PhD and doctor, whatever went into your decision, it was a bad decision. Not because I said so. Look at the outcome here. You see, my brother, and I'm with you. I am with you. Look, when I walk around my village, I see people who I went to school with, a slung bench with, pitch marble with, do all kind of thing with, and so on. They ain't got big PhD behind their name. They ain't got thing. A lot of them are grandmothers and grandfathers now, farmers. They're selling on the corner of the road. And when I meet them, I always greet them as my classmates, hug them up, my classmates. And one of my young friends, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know he was observing. He pulled me aside the day. He said, Dr. Hinds, I got something to tell you. I said, what? He said, I learned something, you know. I said, what you learn? He said, you just intentionally said to those people, your classmates. I said, well, really not them, my classmates. I said, classmate. He said, well, I just watch how they just smile when you say they're classmate.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is saying to those people that they are people and they are powerful too, even without. Because, Apostle, some of them, they bright more than me. I mean, you know, some of them were bright more than me. I get a title behind my name. I'm saying that to say that when you get to where you are or where I am, you have a responsibility to defend and protect those who weren't so fortunate. And Mark Light has violated that code.
Yeah.
Violated that code.
Mm-hmm.
The brother has let us down. He has let black women down. He has let black people down. He has let teachers down. He has let poor people down. And
that is it.
Yes, go ahead.
That's important, but because it struck a chord when you spoke to poor people, because it brings the question here, and I would not seek to violate your platform, but I'll do it on mine, to ask Mark Light to present to us what he owns. You see, it's important here. Does he own a supermarket? Does he own a car dealership? If the answer is yes, then based on his status economically, he doesn't have the same need as a temporary qualified master mistress, as an untrained teacher, he doesn't have that need. So if Mark Light has businesses that he runs, he has to present that fact to us because it becomes important in the conversation. One who doesn't feel like Vanessa would, she would feel what the other females would feel because she lives, and I'm not seeking to insult, it's just a fact. Yeah. She doesn't own any businesses here. So she functioned at that same threshold of the average teacher. So she can feel what it's like to have children and have to deal with them having needs. Mark may not have that same experience.
That's it.
This is important for this conversation. He's not a mother who can feel what Vanessa feels. So if he's slipped into the bracket outside of just a teacher who teaches and lives by that salary, and now has businesses that would bolster his employment, that underscores the decision he may have made, because he isn't bothered by any 10%. That doesn't bother him. It's just he's sitting there as a fat cat and saying, well, listen, we accept whatever it is, because at the end of the day, it doesn't affect him. This is treasonous in the conversation regarding females, because Vanessa Kissoon represented, I say again, a body of females. She's a mother. She has to deal with certain realities. She doesn't have 3-4 businesses she's running. So we have to bring into focus what is the economic standing of the president here as opposed to the members he claims to represent. And that may give us a lot of answers that we need, because I've just had an interaction with people who did business with him, reference a car dealership. I know I'm talking about. I mean, first-hand information, but I was asking for the sake of him to come forward to tell the teachers, do you own a car dealership? Yes or no? Do you own a supermarket? Yes or no? Because once you say yes, then we understand what's happening.
Pim. old people say, pim, 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 pim. You see, look, Apostle, I've been hearing Mark Lighty's PPP. I've been hearing some of those things you just mentioned there. But I felt I needed to give this brother a chance. That I learned a term very early when I came into politics. I came into politics and meet the doyen of the middle class, the Andayes and the Rupert Rupnerines and the and Claytons. And Andaye mentioned a term to us, class suicide. She used to say, well, David, I promise you will take off my shoe and walk in the mud. Right. I think I'm going that far. But I'm going to commit some suicide in that I will stand for the poor in many ways. I ain't ready to take off my shoe and walk in the mud. Right? And that was hilarious, right? She said, but what Rupert and me and Walton, so we committing class suicide.
Wow.
We are coming out of our class comfort, right? And thing. And you go by Andai apartment in those scrunting days, and I would get up in the middle of the night and open the fridge, nothing there in the fridge, you know. I don't see the thing till up to now. She just get up and open the fridge, nothing in the fridge. Because in them days, you couldn't get work, WPA, although they're middle class, they're poor, right? And I would open the fridge, and I got the thing from them. I would get up at 1 o'clock, just open the fridge, man, going in for nothing. And I just smile because and she said, well, you know, this is class suicide because I really don't have to do this, right? And so, in many regards, the test of middle class people, I don't grudge the brother if he own what you own.
No.
And you don't.
No.
But if that is going to guide the way you deal with poor people, then I have a problem.
Yeah.
I have a problem. All right? So you are representing poor people because those teachers are poor people.
Oh, definitely.
You are representing poor people, but you are selling down the line to protect your class interests. I have a problem with that. And I think that's the point you are making. This brother is not prepared to commit class suicide to protect black women, mostly black women, and working class women. Because the Indian and Amerindian teachers who are not black, they're women. They're women. I'm hearing that the statistics are anywhere from 85 to 90% of the teaching profession is men. Women, sorry.
Women, yeah. Maybe higher than that. Yeah.
I went a couple of years ago, they asked me to go talk to a school on the East Bank. No man. No man. And
especially at the nursery level.
Yeah. Yeah. So this brother, we're not licking him down because I still love that brother. But that brother's not shown love for his own sisters who are not at the same economic level or certification level that he is at. When I look at, he said, well, look at the package. When I look at the package, there's some allowance, what is it? Clothing allowance or something.
15,000.
And
15,000.
It graded Mark Light getting more clothing allowance because he get a PhD than the average teacher who's just a trained teacher without a PhD. So even in what he signs, the nasty contract that he signed, he gets more. He gets more. And Mark, you ought to be ashamed of yourself because you have not stood up and defend your sisters. I love you.
Yeah,
and I'm cussing you out tonight in plenty love. And the worst cause is love. The worst cause is love. Because I know they got some of my white friends that going to say, Dr. Hines, you too hard on him. No. My auntie used to cuss me nasty. The only lady could make me shame when the lady cussed. You think and so on. But I knew she was doing it with love. With love. My brother, I am with you. The teachers need to revolt against their union leaders. They've let them down.
They have to.
They've let them down. If you are a teacher earning $120,000, 10% of $120,000 is $12,000. When they put the tax on it, as you like to remind us, that $12,000 gone down. Gone down. A teacher sent me an estimate that she get from she sewing lady, she seamstress. 5 outfit to start school next week. $44,000.
Yeah.
That 10% can't even cover half of that. If she's working as 50% of the teachers are working for $120,000 or less. How can Mark Light and others in a practical way agree to that? You agree to, as you said, to murdering your oh man.
You see, Dr. Hines, as you rightly said, it's not a case of I have an issue with anybody who's successful and have some extra business they're doing, but let me speak to Mark right from and teach you some my experience.
Yes.
My experience. I, at the click of a finger, can pick up my phone and make certain calls, and within 1 month, I'll be in the hundreds of millions of dollars in terms of assets and what I'm worth. One phone call, because they're waiting for the phone call. I have made a decision that for the sake of my integrity and the love of my people, I will not do it. I'm not selling my people out because I want to eat a food and I want to establish myself as a man and I have a business to grow and I could get multiple contracts across the country and become probably a billionaire within a few years. I would not do it because when I observe what the cost would be to the people I love, I cannot do it. So if I can make that decision, you can make the decision, and I can essentially affect the economic well-being of my generations. What makes a man look at females and say to them, accept this? This is all you can get. When another female says to him, no, we're not accepting that in Coretta McDonald. Coretta McDonald said, we're not taking this. This is I passed. He could take a cue from her then. Vanessa Kisun is on the ground saying, we're not taking this either. Let's go back. My father had to deal with the trade unions from 2 perspectives. One, as one who represented workers, I guess, to some extent, and one who would have been among the employers in the bauxite industry. And Daddy said to me, and that's like, Mark can't talk to me, Dr. Hines. Daddy said to me that when you're engaging with the employer and you discover that you have a little impasse here, you're the stalling point because you can't agree. My father said that this is basic. He said the first thing they do, you stop talking. Call a general meeting. Call a meeting with the workers and say, listen, this is where we are. We got a problem because these people aren't sticking to budge. What you want us to do? That's called respect. And the workers will then say, well, let us strike or let us do this. Let us continue to strike. And they return to the table with the instructions of the workforce. Mark Wright has so much more privilege that he has social media. He has Facebook. You telling me he can do a live broadcast? 4 o'clock in the morning, tell teachers, listen, I'm about to go sign this 10% thing right here. This where we at? Or how do you all feel? Give me some feedback before we go forward here. His intentions was never to represent females and the cause of teachers. I can say that because of his action. It was not to do that. At some point, somebody must have instructed him that, hey, this is enough now. Chill out and sign this thing file before I start telling people what you got, where you didn't get. That could be the case. Because I need to know, did you have a scholarship to do your PhD, Mark? Where they got it from? Who signed off on it? What privilege do you have that we don't know about? These are questions that the average teachers are asking me because they're upset. They remember my face on the strike and saying, what's going on here? This man has me, and I'm upset because I don't put my face to certain things. So when I go out in the sun with these teachers, in the rain with them, and then they turn to say to me, now hold on, what we stood up for? What could I tell them? And these are females who understand. Some of them, Dr. Hines, before they think, when is payday? When they're searching the phone to see the calendar, when is payday? When will the pay hit? Because I'm this close now. If I only get 2 more days, I'm done with. They live, as they would say, from paycheck to paycheck. Some of them live before the paycheck, the money done. They have to get money from somebody else, somewhere else. And this man would not understand the plight of our people. This is unfortunate. And he is an African descendant. That upsets me. He is also said to be a pastor.
There we go.
You don't let's go here now. Let me talk from this part. Yahweh hates an unjust scale. It's in your Bible. He hates it. There are very few religions I can name that subscribes to treating human beings in an unjust manner. This is unfair. This is unconscionable. This is, in my view, illegal. Although they may not be illegal. You can't do that to people, man. You should never treat the poorer class of people in that manner. Teachers in this country are the lowest paid in the entire Caribbean. And we are the richest country in the world per capita. And you tell me that trade unionists, whose worth is salt, would accept this for teachers? You are not. Some teachers in Guyana earn less than pensioners in Trinidad. That's how disgusting this is. And this man would accept that? Does he see what GPL does to people in terms of their bills? Huh? Does he see when you walk into Massey what happens? I told you I went to Massey and left with 3 white paper plastic bags, there's so many, and spent $20,000.
There you go. Yeah.
How many teachers could do that?
Yeah.
When I used to pay $3,000 for my brakes parts in my vehicle, I'm now paying $10,000 and $9,000 and $12,000. Teachers, you must strike against your union. And this is about principle, not about, don't tell me about politics now. This is about a principle here. When a trade union leader does certain things to you, you have to meet him with equal or excessive force. He has failed you. And you must react to that. Because he's given you fuel to insult you. That's what Mark did.
And you see, when, my brother, you see, when I talk about slave catchers,
correct.
You have to discourage this kind of behavior on the part of our leaders. We have to discourage it. Mark Light has now advocated whatever role model he was in the past. He has now advocated that I can't tell young black boys and girls or black girls and boys of any race.
No.
To be model, to have him as a model. And I just can't. I just can't. Good evening to all of you. And I know it's animated discussion tonight, not just with myself and Apostle, but also among you. Good evening to my classmate, Reggie Duncan. Reggie, I got your message from Sir McGarrell. And I think I saw a mail from you, which I have to respond to. But you're going to understand that I haven't gotten around to it yet. But I heard you were looking for me in Buxton, and Sir McGarrell was adamant. And you know, Sir McGarrell is a bad man. When Sir McGarrell is my classmate, and that's a man, you don't turn him out left, you don't turn him out right, you just push him out straight in front when he's ready to abuse you. I went down, Reggie, I went down to Baghdad and said, you know, that's a man don't come up unless he come into funeral. I go down to Baghdad and said, because he cook roast pork and so on and thing. And I went down there and he tell me that he's willing to volunteer for me now that I'm a presidential candidate. But if I didn't come down to Baghdad side, I would not get his volunteer work and so on. So he said, whenever I talk to you, to tell you that he delivered your message and that because of you, I go down back that side, and so he's able to volunteer. So I delivering e-message. Pastor, Apostle, as we contemplate this situation, what does this mean? What does this mean for working people? Because if teachers, the teachers union, which is the most militant union in the country right now, if the teachers union can be shoved around, can be beaten up by the government, and end up being beaten up by its own leadership, what lies ahead for working people in our country?
Quite profound and quite a significant question, which is why I said that there's a slaughtering not just of our female teachers. This action by a president and reportedly a second vice president speaks to the ultimate death, if certain steps are not taken, of the working class in reference to your rights. The Guyana Teachers Union was the last to stand to say that we are going to demonstrate to others how we respond to tyranny, how we respond to oppression, how we respond to injustice by the hands of those who should be our employers. The GPSU did a little shake of the shoulder, and that was the end of the matter. It therefore sends a message to all public servants in this nation that at this time, you are subjected not to your will and your passions for a better life. You are subjected to a controlling group of what I consider to be criminals. And I will always say that they are that, because they've robbed the state. And when you've got political figures who are deliberately undermining the fabrics of our society to establish themselves and root themselves in certain positions, the inevitable end would be that when you dismantle certain arms and certain fabrics and networks of society, you're left with a cluster of people who say that we would not accept this any longer and we shall retaliate against this injustice. That would be an unfortunate day for our society if it ever gets there. Because when you kill the unions, you leave the workers to fight for themselves, and that they will do. You may not like what they would do, but they will. Because you've eliminated the group and the groups that are able to come to you to say, let's talk. Let's hash this out. Let's speak about this matter in a manner that protects us all in reference to the labor laws. When you eliminate those bodies, you have then a working class and massa, as you all want to put yourself. And the working class has never bowed to massa for a very long period of time. Trust me on this one.
And Pastor Apostle London speaking truth to power here tonight, and he's sitting in a locale, Linden, where they know very well how to strike against your union.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
I presented a paper at a conference in Guyana about 2 months ago, the Guyana Historical Society, and the paper was Independent Unionism in Linden, 1966 to 1986. And in those 20-year period, that 20-year period, I was able to trace over 40 strikes by bauxite workers. They used to call it wildcat strike in the old days.
Wildcat, yeah.
Over 40 of them during that period. And in many of those strikes, they forced the union to adopt the strike after their strike. So we have a rich history in Guyana of that. We have a rich history of Guyana. And I am so caught up by what Mark, I was saying to a trade union friend of mine, in the bad days when Burnham was a bad man, and Burnham used to bully them union leader, Basil Blair, who was the president of the teachers union, stood up to Burnham. I'm a teacher first. I'm a unionist. I'm a unionist. Burnham used to use charm, bully, all kind of thing Burnham used to use. And those men were loyal to Burnham, but at some point they said to Burnham, but no man, no chief. No, I gotta stand with the workers here.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is all we're asking of Mark. I don't care who Mark Light votes for.
Exactly.
I don't care who his friend is. I don't care who he just eat mutton curry and duck curry with. That is his personal business.
Yeah.
But you cannot be the representative for teachers, for workers, for poor women, and take the side of their oppressors. Because that's what he has done here. He has taken the side of the oppressors.
Correct.
So Irfan Ali is laughing, kya, 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 kya. But mark my words, you're going to take back the laugh. You're going to take, because you all are driving our country to despair.
Correct.
You all are driving our country to despair. This time a long time. Women, long time used to take perhaps the point of least resistance.
Mm-hmm.
They look after themselves. They do what they got to do, as the women say, I got to do what I got to do. What the teachers have shown us this year is that they're not ordinary women. They're capable of standing firm. And they've opened up possibilities for working class women in Guyana. They've opened up, they've shown working class women how to fight. Mark Light and your friends them in the government, this story ain't done.
No.
It ain't done. My brother, your closing thoughts.
Thank you so much. My closing thoughts are twofold. One, I would seek to examine whether there's the possibility of teachers forming, that there being another union, and maybe there's another group of representatives to them. But I would like to consider carefully two things. One, my father taught me a lesson as a younger boy. And he taught me to, though I was a manager's child, to never think as though I was one.
Mm-hmm.
He taught me to in New Amsterdam, where he was, because he was with Berman at the time, Everton in the bauxite industry. He taught me to get on the donkey cart to go home, jump in the cart and ask a little right. And though I could have had chauffeurs drive me home, my brother and my we could jump in the back of the horse cart, and people would say, but you are a London son. They say you are a London son. You London. And I said, my father's a man. I'm talking I was in primary school now, maybe grade 4, grade 5. I said, my father's a manager. I'm not. Because he taught me that. He taught me to have friends who were not in the same bracket. Very poor people. But my father taught me. So it doesn't matter where I got in life. I understood the plight of the poor. I was never poor myself. I understood the pain of the poor, though I was never poor myself, because I had friends and interactions who were poor. For anyone to understand the plight of a teacher and then slaughter them to this extent, you're unconscionable and you are positioned on the unfortunate side of humanity. And I don't know Mark Wright to hate him personally. I hate what he did to the teachers. Finally, I say this, Dr. Hines. When you consider the actions of this PPP administration against women, you must also consider the silence when women were physically abused by members therein. Their members. They were not saying anything. Because I would further conclude tonight that based on how our teachers are treated, that the men in the PPP are given to abusing females. I can draw no further conclusion, because this is an assault and an abuse on females. In most nursery schools in Guyana, 100% of the teaching staff is female, not a single man.
Mm-hmm.
In the primary schools, there is over 95% of the teaching population being female. There are very few primary schools with male teachers. The most men are found in secondary schools or high schools. It therefore stands to reason that if you're going to do this to nursery school teachers and the primary school teachers, where you find the majority of females, you are announcing to them that you are predisposed to abuse. And that is not a healthy thing to happen. I call on every teacher with a conscience in this country to strike against your union, rebel against the executive, and demand that Mark Light resigns forthwith. He has to go.
He has to go. My brother, Apostle London, always, always my distinct and my honor. It's an honor to always have you on
The
this.
pleasure is mine, sir. And it's mutual.
And we'll talk shortly.
Thank you.
And to your audience, you heard the exhortations there of the apostle. We've got to rebel. We've got to rebel. This is criminal. It's hooliganism. And when your leader goes along with it, it says a lot. God bless Coretta McDonald. God bless Vanessa Kisoon and all the women leaders of the union who stood tall and will continue to stand tall. Because of them, we know the truth. And the truth is that the male leadership of the union failed to defend their women. What a shame. What a shame. Let us not lose heart. Let us not lose heart. Go tonight and listen to Kamala and gain some strength. As I said at the beginning of the program, there's a lot that Kamala Harris stands for that I don't stand for. But this is not about what you stand for. This is about the moment. And the moments are important. Moments are important. America made the mistake with Trump and saw what happened. The teachers made a mistake with Mark Light. I am sure he's a wonderful person. I'm sure he's a wonderful father. He's a wonderful brother. I know people who know him. He's a wonderful chap. But he's a sorry leader. He's a sorry leader. Let us go tonight and draw strength from Sister Kamala. Rally behind her. If you have the right to vote, vote. Vote for her. Because the vote matters. The vote matters. To all of you, I love you all. I love you all. I love you all. There can be no me without you. There can be no you without me. We are all in this thing together, Martin Carter said. Like a jig shakes the loom, like a web is spun the pattern. All are involved because all are consumed. We are all consumed by what they've done to the teachers. All of us not teacher, because all of us were taught by teachers. And some of us are still teachers. Some of us are still teachers. And we know the criminality that has been done to the teachers. But that too shall pass. And we shall overcome as we have always done. Good night. Until tomorrow night.